Okay. All right, Rachel, thank you and welcome to Longevity Blog. We're really excited to hear more about the science behind your product line, your company, One Truth 818. And to kick off, we'd really like to hear from you on what the term scientific skincare means to you.
Absolutely. Most skincare products on the market aren't actually based on science. The information comes from regurgitated blogs or vloggers, really outdated information, or they'll talk about a new ingredient, but they don't stop to ask, what's the starting base of this? Where's the science? What does aging look like on the skin? How do cells age? And then let's go from there. So everything we do is based on science, not a trend, and not something that we read from someone else.
And to that point, the name of your company is actually based on some science. You've got this number in there, 818. There's a fascinating scientific story behind where that number comes from. Could you tell us about that?
I can. So we work very closely with Dr. Bill Andrews, who is the molecular biologist who actually discovered this molecule, which we called TAM 818. So TAM stands for telomerase activating molecule. And that's just to let people know that you can't shove telomerase into your skin. It has to be activated within a cell and used within a cell. But the interesting part is the number 818. That's what people always ask us about. And it's a nod to Dr. Bill Andrews' tenacity, because the TM818 molecule was the 314,818th molecule that he screened and tested. And all up, he actually screened and tested over 400,000 molecules for telomerase activity, this one being the strongest.
That's really a sign of tenacity, as you've just shared.
Absolutely.
And Bill Andrews is clearly a very important figure in the history behind the science and has relationship with your company. Could you tell us a bit about Bill and where he fits into One Truth 818 today?
Yeah, so he is an award-winning molecular biologist, and he's credited with discovering the gene and the enzyme telomerase, which at the time was touted as the biggest discovery since antibiotics. And not many people know this, but it actually triggered the Nobel Prize in 2009 to be given to the people who discovered telomeres, although they discovered them in the early 1980s. So it wasn't until Dr. Andrews discovered telomerase that it showed the importance of what a telomere was. Now, he's the president of Sierra Sciences with a personal motto, cure aging or die trying. And he's been nicknamed Dr. Telomere. So he really is the authority on everything and all things telomeres.
Yeah, very fun. And one of the earliest things I learned about Dr. Andrews that I really loved, because I'm a triathlete, is that he's an ultra marathoner. Is Bill still
Yeah.
running today?
He is. Now, don't quote me, and depending on when you read this, but he's run every day for maybe 900 days now, like at least 5 miles, I think it is. So his goal was to almost like beat a world record with that. So he's definitely still focused on, he uses that as part of his telomere maintenance program.
Yeah, that's awesome. We love that. And again, it's a sign of tenacity, which is a
Yeah.
characteristic of longevity in itself, right? If we're loving our life and we want to keep going, we stick around. And that's part of the message we share here at Longevity Blog. And in that work, this discovery of this telomerase activating molecule 818, it's become a fundamental ingredient in your product line. And naturally, we're all very curious. Now, we know this is your IP, this is your secret sauce, but what can you tell us about TAM 818? We're fascinated and curious here, Rachel.
It's more interesting. I can tell you what it's not. It's not a peptide, it's not a protein, it's not an amino acid. It didn't exist until we created it. So it can't even be categorized, which probably explains why Bill has been able to test it as being the strongest telomerase activator on the planet by over 300 times. So, it makes sense that you're not suddenly comparing a turmeric with a ginkgo biloba. You literally have something that didn't exist until Dr. Bill Andrews had it made and then tested it. So it is completely safe and non-toxic. It's a small molecule, so it does penetrate the cell. Lucky for me, the very first tests that he did in his laboratory were on human fibroblast skin cells. So right from day one, we've known what TAM818 can do to the skin.
Wow, that's really exciting and really interesting to hear that it's been created or discovered in a way. And we've had another company called OneSkin on this interview circuit, and we talked to them about testing many different peptides, thousands of peptides, to find one that turned on repair mechanisms in the skin, different to telomerase gene activation, but that similar level of tenacity, although with a few less zeros in front of the number of combinations that they tried. I mean, 450,000, that's really quite impressive. And to find the one that goes into the skin, it's a small molecule, it makes it into cells, and it activates the telomerase gene. That's really important because there's a connection between telomere attrition or the shortening of telomeres and skin aging. And so could you talk to us a little bit about that connection? Because skin aging, telomere shortening, they do go together. The science is growing on this. There's continued consensus that there's a relationship. What can you tell us about that relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm telling you is the complete opposite to what the skincare industry is telling you, which is, hence the tagline scientific skincare. So we know that every time a cell divides, the telomeres shorten. And that cell can divide approximately 50 times until the telomere is so short that it can't divide anymore, and that cell becomes a senescent cell. So, we always say you need to keep your telomeres as long as possible for as long as possible. However, if you listen to the regular skincare industry, they will tell you that to have younger skin, you need to increase cell turnover. You need to bring new cells to the surface faster. You need to completely damage and destroy your skin so that it will rebuild itself. Now, all of those things speed up cell division. So currently, the regular, they'll call themselves anti-aging, skincare industry is actually accelerating the aging process. So with One Truth 818, it is the complete opposite. So TAM818 has been proven to lengthen telomeres. So when that cell divides, the telomeres shorten, and then the telomerase enzyme is expressed so that those telomeres re-lengthen. So you are literally undoing the aging process, reversing the aging process. So it's a very interesting kind of comparison to what the rest of the skincare industry is saying to do. So you really have to get your head around it. So I always say to people, I want your new mantra to be, your takeaway from me today is that cell division equals aging. There is a Hayflick limit. Your cells cannot keep on dividing past that. Now, sometimes people will say to me, it doesn't matter. I can just keep on destroying my skin, keep on bringing new cells to the surface as fast as possible, look inflamed, look glorious, love it, and the stem cells will take care of it for me. But that's not true. Stem cells do age. So your basal stem cells, which produce your skin cells, are put under extra pressure. So when you want to create new cells, because you've destroyed the surface of your skin, you put pressure on those basal stem cells to create more skin cells. Now, they do get old, they do get tired. So the cells they're creating are older than the cells they used to create. So there's no getting around it. If you are speeding up cell division, you are accelerating the aging process. And that's the plain science of it. So we're not just regurgitating, oh, I heard that if you bring new cells to the surface, you're going to look younger. We go right back to science. What is the aging process? It's telomere shortening. Cell division equals aging.
And with this cell division, you're not naming names here, but I'll jump in there and say it. This is the premise of retinol, of retinoids. That's one of the approaches that we could be say that you're citing, which is, again, to take off that top layer of skins, bring the new youthful skin cells to the surface. But you're right in that if we look at telomeres and we think about a Hayflick limit and we think about stem cell depletion, and one of the drivers of stem cell depletion being related to telomeres, we do need to go back and think about how the fundamentals play out here. If we bring cells through their life cycle more quickly and replenish it with cells underneath it, we're accelerating a process, which is exactly what you're saying.
The skincare industry is forgetting to tell you that the fresh new cells on the surface are actually a little bit older than the cells that you used to have there. They're not younger at all. And over the last few decades, we've gotten better and better at creating more damage and bringing those cells forward faster. So it's probably not something that our grandmothers would have encountered back in the 50s when they were just washing their face with a little bit of water and that was it. But now people are going for monthly ablative lasers, literally heating their cells so much that they explode. They've got at-home microdermabrasion devices, which basically is sandblasting your face. They think they look amazing, but on a microscopic level, their skin is inflamed. Of course, there's less wrinkles for a week. They're putting chemical peels all over their face. More often than not, they're doing that monthly when they go to see their skin therapist or their dermatologist. So all of the treatments that they're doing have a momentary, fabulous visual look, but they are all accelerating the aging process. And I think people need to be educated around that so they can make better choices around their skin.
That's really, really important, and a differentiation that you're making around the One Truth 818 line of thinking and the science behind the skincare, because you're talking about a rejuvenation. You're talking about keeping cells that are there healthier for longer. And this is a process in the skincare industry of using damage to accelerate turnover as one approach to look better, but the clock is ticking. And one way that the clock is ticking is that those telomeres are shortening. And transitioning just over to another type of damage that's really important here that I wanted to ask you about, this is UV damage, the photo aging effect. It's one of the primary drivers of aging in the skin, if not the primary driver of aging in the skin, the damage from solar radiation. And there's a unique relationship between photoaging and telomere shortening. Could you introduce our audience to that concept and then tell us where telomerase fits in?
So when you're exposed to UV, it's UV radiation. And when you put radiation on your DNA, you can lose chunks of it. And what you're going to lose is the telomeres, which are the tips of your DNA. They're there to protect your DNA. So that's what you're going to lose. But in my mind, it's actually no different, Nick, to the other sorts of damage that you're causing. It's just that those haven't been measured and studied. So nobody is taking all these women who are having laser every month and measuring how much damage ablative laser is causing to their skin, because it would be likened to the same as, I think, like I said, the studies haven't been done, but there's no reason why it wouldn't be the same as the damage caused from UV radiation or other forms of toxicity or other forms of damage. Now, the sad thing about all of these types of damage and telomere shortening is that the shorter your telomeres are, the less likely they are to be able to produce collagen, produce elastin, produce a balanced pigmentation. And when you think about why people might be going out in the sun to get a tan, to look a bit more even, they might be having a microdermabrasion to try to get some collagen going, or a laser, or what they're trying to combat are wrinkles, the lack of collagen, the lack of elastin, and an uneven pigmentation. The shorter your telomeres and the older your cell, the less likely it is to be able to do any of those things. So you're also exacerbating every issue that you're trying to solve. And so the photo aging issue when it comes to telomeres is it's twofold. It's from the radiation. And so it means that the cells are constantly dividing, trying to heal that. But it also is really damaging for the pigmentation cells, which then start throwing pigment out, which is also an issue of short telomeres. So the shorter your telomeres are, the more likely you're going to throw pigmentation and be unbalanced there. So
That's really fascinating, Rachel.
ways damage.
That's really fascinating, because one of the primary signs of aging in skin is pigmentation, which is ultimately a defense mechanism. And you're telling us, and I would love you to just dive into this as deeply as you can, as prepared as you feel at the moment. Tell us about that relationship about telomere attrition and pigmentation. That seems really important.
It's interesting because right now you've been led to believe that you have an issue with wrinkles, you have an issue with saggy skin, you have an issue with pigmentation, and they're all separate issues, and you need a product for every single one of them. Here's 10 products, where's your money? Thank you very much. However, they are all conditions of aging. If you look at your children or someone younger than you, they have collagen, they have elastin, and they have a balanced pigmentation because they have lovely long telomeres and really functioning cells. But between those 50 divisions I was telling you about, between really long telomeres and critically short telomeres, you've got old age. And when those telomeres hit old age and then critically short, they can't produce collagen, they can't produce elastin, and they'll vomit pigmentation on the surface of your skin, or they'll stop making pigment whatsoever and you'll have white patches. They are all conditions and caused by aged cells. They're not separate things that need separate treatments. If you can re-lengthen your telomeres and have a younger cell again, it functions like a younger cell again. So yeah, pigmentation is 100% an issue of aging.
Rachel, that's really fascinating. And in this exploration of what you know about the science and this concept of scientific skincare, we get to, I would say, rather joyfully go into some work that One Truth 818 through the Chase Life Extension Foundation, and I'll clarify the relationship about that later, commissioned a study in Italy with a laboratory to actually test your product on 100 volunteers of widely varying different ages. And there was some really interesting results after 30 days usage of One Truth 818. And there's two categories that I wanted to go into today. The first was measurement before and after with some optical sensors, this ability to 3D map the skin and look at the surface topography as a scientific term. What people care about from surface topography is really wrinkles and smoothness of the skin. What did this study find after just 30 days? Because this was really impressive.
Yeah, thank you. It's, to my knowledge, the largest scale topical study ever performed on skin, and certainly in the field of epigenetics on skin. Again, this is where we found the information out about pigmentation, for example. So my background, I come from a regular skin background. I worked as a skin therapist for about 20 years before I came into this. So I had all those beliefs that all the conditions of aging were all separate, that they were different issues among themselves. So I was actually really surprised myself at the time to go, hang on, what's happening here? And to talk it through with Bill. And that's where we understood actually pigmentation is caused from aged cells. You know, it's exacerbated by UV rays, but when the UV, so that's the way to look at it. It also,
No,
it really
Rachel, I
surprised.
just had a pause on my end, lost the signal a little bit. You said UV rays. Could you just repeat the part about when you look at UV rays? Thank you.
Yeah. So a lot of people say that UV rays cause pigmentation, and they certainly exacerbate it. However, if you had really long telomeres, they would be fit and they would be functioning and they would be able to cope better with those UVA rays. When you've got older, shorter telomeres and those UV rays hit your skin and they're radiated, you can deal with them much less healthily. So that's why you'll throw that pigmentation. So it's directly correlated to the length of your telomeres, how well you'll deal with that UV radiation. So it exacerbates it, but the cause of it is short telomeres not being able to cope with the UV rays.
Thanks for that, Rachel. And,
Bill
and
and
could you
his,
talk about the wrinkles and smoothness part of the question? Is where does this the results that you got from that study, if you could just highlight them, where does that fit into the narrative you're shaping?
yeah. So like I said, it's if you have younger skin cells, they behave like a younger skin cell. Kind of obvious when you think about it, but it has been proven over and over and over again that the longer your telomeres are on a cell, the younger that cell is. And we know that younger cells function more healthily and produce everything needed to make skin be and look young.
Great. Thank you for that. And maybe I'll just drop a few of those stats in from your clinical trials page about the percentage of improvement in
Yeah.
smoothness and wrinkles. And we'll move on to the next question from that one. So there was also another part of the study that looked at skin elasticity and firmness using a skin probe, a cutometer, which is actually the device you use is the standard in the industry for this. And there was some really exciting results in elasticity and firmness. And in fact, firmness improved by 20%, skin elasticity by around 10%. What's going on with telomeres and skin elasticity and firmness?
So can you imagine putting something just topically on your skin and your cells produce more elastin? And the volunteers were between 36 and 65. So they are not naturally going and producing a whole lot of elastin. And elastin, think elastic, it's all to do with the tautness and the turgor of your skin. So any kind of sagginess happening is because you have a lack of elastin. So to be able to increase that by almost 10% just by popping something topically on your skin is absolutely incredible, and just testament to the fact that your cell is behaving like a younger cell again. Now, interestingly, when it comes to activating telomerase, telomerase will preferentially lengthen the shortest telomeres first. So those telomeres that are in old age and are critically short that I was talking about, the ones that are making you look old, those are the ones that the telomerase enzyme is going to lengthen first. So the signs of aging that you'll be able to actually see on your skin are going to be reversed faster because of that mechanism of action.
Really exciting story coming together here, Rachel. And in this discussion, there's been talk about telomerase, telomeres, scientific research. Do you have any evidence where you've measured before and after telomere length in the skin, or any other indirect measure of telomere length in the skin that shows that this mechanism that you're suggesting is actually occurring? That when we put TAM818 into the skin telomeres get longer?
So all of that was done by Dr. Bill Andrews before we even popped it into a skin cream. So he was able to say on his scale of measurement that TAM818, he thought it was 16% of what he calls healer, which would be able to actually reverse aging and make a cell immortal. And that's where we began. So we had a molecule that was already tested to activate telomerase in human skin cells. And then we thought, well, what does this look like? And the Abbott laboratory studies actually really surprised Bill and his scientists, because they thought, okay, you're going to use TAM818 on your face. In 10 years' time, if Rachel uses it and Nick doesn't, she'll look like she's aged 10 years less. And Nick will think, I wish I started a decade ago. But in actual fact, to see the age reversal, I mean, it's so obvious when you look at the before and afters, before you even read the measurements that the doctors took. It really surprised them. And it was at the same time that people were doing those studies that discovered that telomerase preferentially lengthens the shortest telomeres first. So that explained how you get such a visual result really quickly.
This before and after images is something that we see a lot of participation from your audience and your customers. People love sending you before and afters. If you were to summarize what you've learned from users of your product and their before and after experiences, this is moving beyond the scientific study and into the real world, what would you say the most common observations are?
Lifting of the skin. So particularly eyelids and necks, which are typically very, very hard to have an effect on without some kind of surgery. They're surprised at the quality of their pores because everything about the texture of their skin changes. The pigmentation is another thing. The effects of pigmentation are incredible because we go to the root cause of the pigmentation. So if you're suffering from pigmentation, you can scrape the color off the surface of your skin as much as you want. But as I explained, every time you scrape it away, then the skin cells underneath have to proliferate to heal that. And by proliferating faster, they're aging faster. So they're then going to throw more pigment. So what we do is we correct the cause, which is the actual cells that create the pigmentation, and re-lengthen telomeres using TAM818. So it means once the pigment has flaked off the surface of the skin, there's no more pigment being made to replace that pigment again. So it's a true, I don't want to say the word cure, but it's a true corrective way to deal with pigmentation, and that often really surprises people. They look for wrinkles, they look for sagginess, but it's everything else which comes with it that they go, wow, that's right, this is what a younger skin looks like.
That's really exciting and exactly the type of thing that our audience likes to hear, because we are a group of self-experimenters. And so the next thing that I want to ask you, building off of what you just shared, is what a protocol would be and what products you would use to run a self-experiment, for how long, and what would you measure before and after if you wanted to know for yourself, is One Truth 818 worth the money, worth my investment? How can we guide our readers through that process? So again, what product, how many times a day, for how long, and most importantly, how do I see before and after and know that it's working for me?
Great. So I tell everyone to take a before shot. So that's out in natural light with no makeup, with a totally relaxed face. So I've seen some befores before where people have got that a little bit wrong, and they're smiling or lifting their eyebrows up and they're trying to make as many wrinkles as possible. But then it's not a true comparison to the next one, and we're human. When I smile, I have smile lines. I earned them. I've worked very hard to create these smile lines, but when I relax my face, they're gone. And to me, that is the essence of a true anti-wrinkle treatment, is that they're not staying on your face when you're not in that position again. So relax your face, go out in the natural light, notice what time of day it is, and take some photos from the front and from the two sides. Now, the regime, it's the most simple thing that anyone has ever told you to do. Have a clean face, however that is, and then put the One Truth 818 serum on from your forehead, over your eyes, over your lips, and down your neck. That is all. And 2 pumps will do the face and the neck. And I'll tell you why you only need one product. And it's because the product works on the root cause of aging of cells. Every part of your face and neck is made of cells. I'm not going to try to extort money from you by selling you an eye cream, a neck cream, a lip cream, when I just had the one product that works. It goes to the root cause of aging. I'm not trying to mop up the mess that aging makes. I'm trying to correct the aging of your cells. That's why you only need the one product. So that's what my regime actually looks like, Nick. I'm super quick. I'm a bit lazy when it comes to it. In the shower, I cleanse my face. I get out. We have an atomizer product too, which is completely oil-free for people who may suffer from adult acne or teenage acne or rosacea and are sensitive to any kind of oil. But I spritz that on just because I love it. And then I throw my serum on between my fingers, 2 pumps, face, lips, eyes, neck, right down my throat. And in the evening, that's exactly how my routine looks as well. Cleanse, atomizer, serum. But you can skip the atomizer if you want to. But you've got to really question, if somebody needs to sell you 5 products, 10 products, are any of those products actually working? If they were, surely you would just need one.
Well, this is precisely what we want to empower people to do. And I've actually got a bottle of the serum here with me right now. And I've been told that a bottle of this serum at the protocol you just mentioned will last around 2 to 3 months. Is that correct?
No, it's 8 to 10 weeks with
8 to 10
twice a day use.
weeks. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
just over
And
two months, less than three.
yeah, yeah. And I do encourage twice daily use. All of our experiments, trials, before and afters are all done on twice daily use, because the more frequently you activate telomerase, obviously the better results you can get from the enzyme telomerase, because it can work harder. So don't buy this product and keep it as a once a week treatment, or a once a month as a special occasion. You won't see the results you're after. I want you to activate telomerase twice a day with it to see the results that you're after.
Brilliant. And that's for the serum. And then we also have the atomizer. And this, I've been told, you can spritz on your face across the day. And also you can put it on before you put on the serum. So where would this sit? Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. So some people who are trying to think through how to use it think of it in place of a toner. So something that you would put under a serum. It's super hydrating. So if you have problems with hydration, you can pop it on under the serum. Like I said, it's not necessary, but where the beauty of it does come in is you can use it throughout the day, even over makeup, because it's water-based, no oil. And then you can really activate telomerase frequently. So let's say you're just hearing this now and you're getting married in 3 weeks and you want to get as much telomerase activity happening as you can. So you would use the serum morning and night, like I've told you to, and you'd carry the atomizer in your handbag and use it as frequently as you want throughout the day. Like I said, it's oil-free, so you can't overdo it. But also for people and teenagers too, because activating telomerase speeds up the healing process. So if you've got an acne problem and you can speed up the healing process by activating telomerase, you're less likely to scar, and of course you'll clear the acne faster. If you have rosacea and you can't use oils, but you want anti-aging, you can use that. We haven't talked about sensitivity, but sensitivity and broken capillaries, do children have them? No, because they're an issue of aging skin and aged cells. So it can really strengthen skin as well by activating telomerase. So sensitive skin users love the atomizer too. So you can use both if you want to just jump right in there, or you can just grab the serum, which is our hero product, or if you're sensitive to oils or you have acne, just grab the atomizer.
Great. Thank you, Rachel, for helping us walk through what that self-experimentation might look like. And of course, in true longevity blog form, I'm already 2.5 weeks into doing this myself, and I'll be sharing my results with some very high quality before and after imagery on the blog. And as we shift this conversation toward closing out, you've already started to talk about it. And we're really always very curious to hear how our interview guests look at their own longevity and the things they're doing to look out for themselves. We call it having your own longevity strategy. Let's narrow that down to two categories. You're obviously very, very knowledgeable about the aesthetic age, looking young, staying young. What is your protocol? And what things are you doing to look after your aesthetic age as an important asset in your life?
Absolutely. Well, I think the big one, because everybody looks at my skin and I've got my skin regime down pat, but what can throw me with my skin is hormones. I'm almost 48 years old. I'm a woman. So hormones can be a bugbear. So really, I'm a supplement queen. I love my supplements. And most of them are adrenaline balancing and hormone balancing. For me, means iodine to make sure my thyroid's taken care of, vitamin B for stress levels. Otherwise, those hormones really throw my skin out. I also try to look after my immunity, and we've got a couple of supplements: repair for lengthening telomeres and eliminate for eliminating senolytic cells, because obviously I'm all over the telomere world, and to me it is the shortest stick of dynamite when it comes to the aging problem. So I look after those through supplements as well. And another big thing, which again does come to telomeres, I exercise, and my exercise is dance, because it brings me joy and happiness as well as strength and oxygen. And I think you need to find what makes you happy while also exercising so that you carry on doing it. That's a big thing for me.
Absolutely, because an unhappy life isn't one that you want to keep living. So I love that you take us to that point at the end. Rachael, thank you so much for joining us today on Longevity Blog. It was really fascinating to learn about One Truth 818, telomerase activation, and all the ways that it intervenes in healthy skin. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Nick.